Missouri Governor Mike Parson is overseas on a 5-day European trade mission. He's making stops in the UK and Belgium with the goal of bringing more business to the Show Me state.
Joe McLean is talking about the value of such international trips and who is paying for them.
These two countries, the UK and Belgium, buy Missouri goods to the tune of about $300 million every year each. Now, this trip is going to focus on two of Missouri's biggest manufacturing sectors, aerospace technology and beer. Parson's latest international trip takes him to the UK, to the Farnborough International Airshow. It's a massive event that draws some of the biggest aerospace companies in the world. Parson's office said he'll be meeting with executives, including from some of the large companies that already operate in Missouri, Boeing being by far the largest.
We know aerospace has a very significant footprint in Missouri, not just in terms of the industry investment, but also our workforce, who are employed by aerospace-related companies.
Boeing is the state's sixth biggest private employer, with roughly 17,000 Missouri workers. But Parson will also meet with Leonardo, which makes surveillance tech and equipment for the U.S. military and has a division headquartered in West Plains. Also, Seneca, which has facilities in 6 countries, including 4 in Missouri. Kara Korches, who leads the Missouri's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said Missouri has to be an economic competitor and not just against other states.
We are in a global economy. And so I know the trip right now that they will be embarking on to the UK and Belgium, those are significant trade partners.
In Belgium, Parson is meeting with Anheuser-Busch InBev, the world's largest brewing company, headquartered in St. Louis, as well as Duvel Morgat, a Belgian company that owns Kansas City's popular Boulevard brewing brand. Belgium is also notable as the country saw the second biggest increase in Missouri exports over the last year, an 80% jump.
Other states are doing this. Other states' governors are going out to these other countries. Again, we're in the global competition for jobs. And so we think that Missouri is the best place in the nation to live and do business.
Notably, Parson's international trips are not paid for by tax dollars, but by the Hawthorne Foundation, a private sector business recruitment organization that works closely with the state's Department of Economic Development. Parson is set to return to Missouri on Friday. In Jefferson City, Joe McLean, WGEM News.